Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hi, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today we're discussing Deep Space Nine, Season 6, Episode 3, Sons and Daughters. Worf and Martok deal with Worf's son Alexander on the Rataran. Zial makes Kira solidify her contempt of Dukat. How did you find this one?
I thought it was alright.
So, it wasn't superb.
Nah, it wasn't great.
I felt the Alexander storyline was fairly weak.
That's because it is. I have a question about that one.
Okay, the answer will probably be confusing and disappointing, but on you go.
The way Alexander talks about his relationship with Worf, how he sent him off to be taken care of, it sounded like the character was written out of Next Gen, as if they didn't want to deal with him. I got the feeling they introduced this character and then thought it was a mistake and wrote him out. But I'm curious how you feel about him from what you saw in Next Gen.
He didn't appear on Next Gen very much. He's only in a handful of episodes. I wouldn't really say he was written out as much as he just wasn't one of the main cast. He was okay. There's some really silly stuff about this episode. Alexander was born during Next Generation.
Oh.
Well, he was actually conceived during Next Generation. He was born probably in season 3, making him approximately 8 years old in this episode. Which makes no sense.
He took growth hormones so that he could be a warrior.
He's still 1/4 human. So, like, if you give a human kid growth hormones, I don't think that's what would happen to an 8-year-old. Moving that aside, the real reason they didn't want him to be 8 is because young actors have really limited working hours by law. So they kind of bumped him up to sort of teenage.
That way they can get the proper dad angst.
Well, true, but Worf isn't really a father on Deep Space Nine. He's not seen that way, so the dad angst feels a bit kind of single-serving.
It feels misplaced.
Plus, Cisco is an endless resource of dad angst, so we don't really need it from Worf.
And we've seen so much from Odo.
Yeah, this show is lousy with dad angst, so bringing Alexander back, making him a teenager just for this plot line, and maybe a little more in the future, seems unnecessary. But I guess my other real problem with this Alexander plotline is I didn't really understand where it went.
He acknowledges that his son exists now.
What? He acknowledged him before. And then he gets locked in a corridor, and Worf's like, "Oh, you idiot." That's okay, all of a sudden. And then he joined the House of Martok? What? Worf had to kill like 50 guys in a row and break out of a Dominion internment camp and save half the Alpha Quadrant to get into the House of Martok.
Well, Alexander is grandfathered in because he's Worf's blood. Worf was inducted into the House of Martok. It then carries over to Alexander.
That seems unfair. Martok didn't even seem to like the guy very much.
No.
And then the very next time he sees him, he's like, "Yeah, you can join my house. No bother." Also, the ritual scene for joining the House of Mortok was cut in the UK. So I had to see the cut version.
Oh, you didn't see them slicing their hands and using the same blade, the same blood-drenched blade?
It's Martok cuts his own hand, and then it kind of skips to him pouring the blood wine or appletizer or whatever it is he's pouring in there. Yeah, they were concerned that youths would try to copy this ceremony and transmit HIV. That was their logic. So you don't get to see War for Alexander cutting their hands up.
If you're gonna slice your hand, do it with a clean blade.
I guess, but we've already seen them share blades in Way of the Warrior at the start of season 4.
Perhaps they had complaints after that one, or reports of hand slicing.
I don't think they were concerned about hand slicing, because they did show Martok cutting his hand. It was honestly to do with bloodborne diseases being transmitted. It's a ridiculous cut. But, well, there you go. They have to exert their power somehow.
There's another scene that I'm wondering if it were cut, and that's when...
Nope.
Oh, no? Okay.
Well, go on, but there's a couple of other cuts that I've not mentioned. Usually it's sound effects they cut here and there, but not in this episode. But what were you thinking?
There's a scene that ends with Ducat laughing. I think it's after Kira calls him an interstellar despot. It cuts off so abruptly during his laugh. It feels weird to me, as if something happened with the one take they had and they had to hide it. I don't know. It was weird editing to me.
There were a bunch of scenes filmed for the Zial storyline that were not used. They had too much on that storyline, and not so much on the Alexander storyline. So there was stuff cut from that, although not for censorship reasons.
So is it possible that scene continued and that awkwardness was a result of having to cut it short?
There was plenty cut from that storyline, so it's likely.
In the original script, Ducat jokes about being a despot and talks about assigning Damar to escort Zial, then they both have a good laugh about Damar's manner of speaking.
I must say, I did like the Zial storyline.
That storyline was more interesting and had more going for it.
It was a good B plot. If the A plot had been different, then this episode would have been cracking.
The Zial one works so well because these three characters have disparate views of how those relationships play out. Ducat is out of his mind and delusional and thinks Kira's in love with him, and he's trying to foster that. Kira is disgusted by Ducat, yet she cares for Zial and wants her to thrive. And then Zial is kind of young and naive, doesn't really realize what's going on, that these two are totally opposed. I loved seeing that, how each one filters the situation differently and that they don't quite understand what's going on.
They kind of played the part of divorced parents, almost, using the child as a bargaining chip and making competition out of praise.
It's so sad that Zial will only get attention from Ducat as a means of reaching Kira.
She should just adopt herself away from Ducat. He's not a good parent. She even says, "Oh, Ducat overreacted a bit when he left me on Deep Space Nine to die." And it's not the first time he's tried to kill her. She's so forgiving. It's unbelievable. I like Ducat's madness, if you want to call it madness. Just the little weird things that he does, such as getting Damar to deliver a sexy dress to Kira. What? Why is that necessary? And regifting the present to Zial.
Part of me hoped when he regifted it, Kira left a nasty letter for him.
Oh, yeah.
But that's so sitcom-y and would be out of place. I'm glad it didn't happen, but it came to my mind.
He should have checked that she hadn't pooped in the box or something. I wouldn't put past Kira. She knows how to oppose people with mind games. But just regifting the present for affection is so narcissistic. I actually know someone who suffers with a narcissism disorder, and that is one of the things they do.
They regift sexy dresses all the time?
Well, not sexy dresses, but they'll give away presents they don't want in exchange for gratitude, just at the drop of a hat. Like someone will give them a present and say Christmas time, and half an hour later they'll give it to someone else.
Oh, that quick of a turnaround.
Oh yeah, without even unwrapping it.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of messed up. And the weirdest thing is it's hard to notice at first. It was years before I noticed the little behavioral things that happened.
When you first said it, it didn't sound so bad. I thought, well, if you get a gift and it doesn't sit well with you, you have it for a while, you never touch it, never opened it, and then you re-gift it. That didn't seem so bad to me, but turning it around immediately, that's different. When you squish the timeline, that makes a difference.
Yeah, and making up a backstory. Oh, I picked this out just for you.
Oh, yeah, that's part of it too.
When they don't even know what's in there, or they maybe know, but they don't know.
That's what made it so much worse when Ducat regifted the dress. I forgot what he said, but it was something about how great he is.
Yeah, regifting it, especially on the short term that he did, is a really accurate portrayal of someone who has sort of interesting brain thoughts. He didn't really care about Zale there. He just got knocked back by Kira, so he just turned around to get affection from someone else. It was purely selfish.
Gotta feed that ego.
Yeah, that's all he was doing. That's why he brought Zial to the station. He doesn't care for her. He says he does, but he also did try to kill her a few times, or leave her in mortal danger, which is as bad.
The dress really troubles me because I can easily imagine Ducat daydreaming about how it will go, how he thinks Kira will be so taken with it, she'll show up, she'll be all over him, etc. Gross.
The reality he experiences in his mind doesn't match the reality external to him. And I don't think it ever really has. But it takes a long time for that to become really apparent.
He doesn't let it get in his way.
Well, he's been like this with Kira from ages ago.
Yeah, this is not new.
But the level of madness it portrays at this point is much more stark. Back in, I think, season 3 is probably when he started doing it, as a rough guess. It just seemed like he was a quirky sex pest. But how long it's been sustained for makes it seem like he actually has real problems with reality.
At first it was quirky, now it's an intense disorder.
Well, it always was a disorder.
But I'm saying that's how it came off.
Oh yeah, now it is apparent. Kira almost fell into his plan for a bit. She was comfortable with Zial.
That's the tough part, because she actually cares about Zial.
It's believable as well. People can wear you down until you stop realizing that you've been worn down. It's hard to oppose this kind of thing constantly. But I don't think she likes the cat very much.
No, her hate of Ducat outweighs her love for Zial, which is unfortunate, because Ducat doesn't love Zial.
I wish that Alexander had died in this episode.
I thought he would, for sure, after all that I wasn't the kind of son you wanted talk. I thought, okay, he's going to die in a show of protecting his father, showing he's worthy, he's a warrior, he's dead, we won't care. But then he didn't die.
He's an idiot.
Yeah, he's just a moron who can't fight and stinks at it.
What is the entrance requirements for the Klingon military?
Blood test?
Do you have a uniform? Okay, well, you can purchase one. Do you have a bat'leth? Okay, you're in. When he was getting brutally bullied at the in the mess hall, he says, "Are you mocking me?" But he genuinely sounded confused.
Yeah.
Are you mocking me? Should I retort?
Is this when I engage in banter?
Can you rate your burns from 1 to 10 so I can plan an appropriate retort?
How offended should I be right now?
I'm kind of glad there was no redemption for him. Like, if he had saved the whole ship and suddenly he was a hero after all, that wouldn't have been very good. Although I can't say what they did instead was much better.
Redemption would have been worse.
To be honest, I don't know where this plotline could have gone to end satisfactorily.
It could have been a meditation on misplaced energy or misplaced perseverance. How this wasn't the path for him and he was trying to force it, even though everything was telling him that this wasn't for him.
Well, then there should have been a path for him.
Instead of being the ship's fool.
That genuinely looks like his job is being the idiot. That's what Worf accepts him as at the end. Wow, you are genuinely an idiot.
But
That's
you're my
path.
idiot.
Yes. I mean, just anything. If they, I don't know, he cooked something and they said, "Hey, you're actually pretty good at cooking. Could do that." Just anything. One of the other replacements was Katog, son of Chapok.
Was he the one who accompanied Alexander when they went to plug that hole or whatever they did?
I don't think so.
Well, was he the bully? It's the same guy.
No, that wasn't Katog. That was Chitarg.
Oh, silly me.
But Katog was son of Chapok, a name which is no doubt familiar.
Does not ring any bells.
What? But he was the lawyer who tried to peg a load of deaths on Worf.
Okay.
So his kids showed up very briefly, or assuming there's only one Chapok, which is pretty unlikely.
It could be the Klingon Smith.
This is Chapok, son of Chapok. I can't see every Klingon having a unique name.
No, they had to give up and then start reusing names at some point.
But it's probably supposed to be the same Chapok that we know and love from that one random episode where he did a bunch of really dubious lawyer things. Same writer for this episode and that one, I think.
I really didn't like when Worf interfered the fight between his son and the other guy, because that's a huge dishonor.
I think the other guy was going to kill him.
Yeah, but you have to let him have his own battles.
There's no honor in killing a complete moron who can't defend themselves from an unarmed table. I don't understand why Alexander was on the bridge. He was incompetent. They should have got someone else to do that job.
Seemed like a kind of important job. Don't know why you would want that guy doing it.
Yeah, especially after he was repeatedly incompetent.
Whoops, left the safety on.
Left the simulation on. And then he didn't know which ship to target, and they didn't really seem to know what he was doing. I mean, they will all die if that worker is not efficient enough. So they probably want someone pretty good at that job. Did you like Zial's paintings?
Not really.
They seemed kind of quick.
They look like stuff she would knock out in 15 minutes for that whole stack.
Yeah, they really did. And the fact that there was 50 of them didn't help.
One of them looked like 4 brushstrokes, and then that was it.
Well, that could be art, but probably wouldn't be. I always get suspicious when someone starts saying, "Oh, I've done a whole bunch of art," and they've got 3,000 paintings. Oh, I did these yesterday. Oh, okay.
Well, you have to put in the time.
Okay, but she's faster than Bob Ross, I would guess. He's knocking out paintings quite quick with Ziel's, turning around and going, "Oh, are you using way too many colours? Just get the canvas. Just get brush and do whip, wob, wab. There, you're done. You're done." Do you have a quote of the show?
That is a slogan, not an answer. Say what is in your heart.
I could have guessed it would be a Martok line. He had pretty much all the good lines in the A plot anyway.
Martok speaks almost exclusively in awesome lines.
It's because Martok is exclusively awesome. Maybe you can see why I was jubilant when he showed up. He's just fun. He's got a good presence. He brings the sort of Klingon angle. And he's got more spirit than Worf, who's a grumpy guts.
Well, he doesn't have Worf's inner turmoil. He's not conflicted about who he is, so he's free to be an awesome Klingon.
Yeah, he's up for a fight and then up for a pint afterwards. And he won't take Alexander's idiotic answers. All Alexander wanted was a chance to prove himself, which is woefully misguided because he's not capable of that. That's what was in his heart. I can do it if I try. Martok should have said, "Oh my god, I'm sorry I asked. Just stick with the slogan."
The slogan was better. Some slogans endure for a reason.
Well, he did fire him right after that. Oh, that's what was in your heart? Right, yeah, you're fired.
Oh, you did not pass the heart test. I'm sorry.
I made it really easy for you.
Literally no one else has failed this test, but I guess there's always time for a first.
Oh, I feel a bit bad for Alexander now.
So does he.
I'm sure he'll turn out to be a fantastic, mostly Klingon warrior, full of teenage angst.
Oh, I thought you were going to say mostly ignored character, which I hope
Maybe
is
that
true.
too. Well, judging by the rate he ages, if he shows up again, he'll be an old man.
He'll have gray hairs, and then
Yeah,
Worf
older
still
than
looks the
Worf.
same.
Now that is an episode I would look forward to.
Oh yeah, he contracted some disease that ages him. They ignored it here. Didn't think it was suspicious that this 8-year-old had
That's
aged
right.
this much.
It is strange now you point it out. You are 8 years old. It's not surprising he can't defend himself against fully grown Klingon. Anyway, we should move on to the next episode.
Yes, let's do that.
All right.
Bye.